it's like you can conceptually understand something, but until you go through it, and frankly, having as much trauma, unfortunately, as I've had, the sort of good thing, I guess we could say, about it is that I've been through a lot of shit my clients have been through. And I'll say, this is how I handled it. What do we think about that? Let's talk through it. Whereas, with therapists, it just feels very like, like just,
Diana, this is exactly why I started the Real Money podcast, because I felt like a lot of the financial conversations are just total bullshit. And not for me, and I want to dig into this for you, I wasn't raised around money. And so for people, there's different set points in life. People have different financial set points. People have different set points for how they were raised, where they were raised. Some people were raised in a healthy family home, some were not. And all of those things make a difference about who we become as adults. And so for someone who hasn't had a lot of, so there's big trauma, there's little trauma. For someone who hasn't had big trauma, big complex trauma in their life, maybe it is just as easy as love yourself.
Sure.
Because someone taught them how to love themselves. Someone was raised with a regulated nervous system. And then there's the rest of us. I can see your face, right?
We're 100%.
There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of unregulated people walking around on this planet. And it's not as simple as budgeting. It's not as simple as love yourself. There's work that we have to do to heal ourselves.
100%. And
I'm guessing, so that's my first question. I'm guessing that's why you are the anti-therapist.
Doesn't work. I went to 6.5 years of schooling only to realize that it was all bullshit. And I went to a top 10 school in the US for what I do. And I remember walking out of my exam being thrilled because it's not like a law, degree where you figure out months later, you immediately find out whether you pass or fail before you even get up, your butt leaves the seat from the exam. And I passed. So obviously I was, thrilled. It was, 4.5-hour exam, I think it was. But after I left and after that relief, went away, which was sort of quick, it was like, what the fuck was that exam? Like, what did that teach? Like, what are all those years of school? Like, I don't even know what that taught me. And there were people that I went to school with where I'm like, I wouldn't tell you what I had for lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, let alone anything that actually happened to me. So it's just a very broken system. And I had to basically learn on my own, for a very long time. Because a couple of internships, like, I have people's lives in my hands. I don't have a scalpel or like I'm not a doctor, but I have like little people's like lives in my hands and I'm like, what the fuck do I need to do? So I had to really create systems and build things myself. I went through my own coaching program because I couldn't find a good therapist.
Well, to take that to a deeper level, what is the bullshit? Having gone through the formal education process and you have a master's in social work.
Yep.
And that's also what Brene Brown's work is the power of vulnerability. She's a social worker.
Yeah.
So coming from that formal education, one of the greatest institutions, to then out into the field, what is the bullshit?
So a therapeutic hour being 45 minutes, doing anything for 45 minutes a week is silly. If you have to lose 50 pounds, what fitness expert's going to tell you 45 minutes a week is just, you'll be great. You'll lose 50 pounds like nothing. It's very antiquated. It feels very like a power struggle. It's very transactional. You can't speak to anyone outside of that. So where's the accountability, right? If we meet on Thursday and by Monday, I'm like, fuck, I'm freaking out about this or that, or I'm stalling out on this, or I'm avoiding this, or, oh my God, I had an aha moment from my call, with Diana. What do I do about that? There's nothing you can do. And unless you're thinking about killing yourself, you cannot reach out to your therapist. There just is this like divide. I see my friends. I see some of my husband's friends. You don't even know who I see. And I love that, like being able to help people. I have clients where when they fly into New York, which is often for business, they come and actually see me. You know what I mean? Like we actually see each other. Like we have an actual relationship. I care about these people. And I have clients, from 3 years ago that I've got married now. I have kids. Like you're amazing, whatever. Like I love that. It's such a different parallel. And I can't even find a therapist. It feels very judgy, which it shouldn't. I share my experiences where it feels, necessary to. It's not like, how does that make you feel? And how does that make you feel? It feels like shit. That's why I'm fucking here, idiot. Like, let's get out of it. I call it sitting in dirty bathwater. Right? Where you're like just sitting in your filth, right? And it's just gross. And it's like, get me the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? Like, get me out of this. It's not very action oriented either. Very few of them will give you action steps of any kind. I'm of the mind I want to get fired. I want you to become self-sufficient. I don't want, a lot of people say, what would Diana do? I'm like, no, no, no. It's what would whatever her name is do. And it's okay to lean on me for a while, but it's like training wheels. It's like first you kind of like look on the bike, you sit on it. It's like a little scary. Then, I'm holding the back and we got training. You know what I mean? But like you progress, it like people will be in therapy for 5 years. And I'm like, so what are you doing? And they're like, I don't really know.
Yep.
And I have horrible stories myself. Other people have horrible stories. You kind of think it's just you. And then you hear other people's stories and it's just terrible. And even the statistics are terrible in terms of who actually helps you, so we can get into that too. But our self-awareness is terrible. The effectiveness of therapy is terrible. It's just really bad. And people are brave enough to actually get help. They may never do it again.
Yeah, that's
Someone I
true.
spoke to this morning, it was like, I did it once. It was a traumatic experience for me and I'm never going to do it again. It's like that fucking person who stole that person's opportunity to do something for themselves deserves to burn in hell. Like, I'm sorry, but don't fucking do this for a living if you don't know what you're doing. You don't really care. You don't over deliver. You're not really wanting to do what's good for the person. They're not marketers. They don't want to go back into the water and fish.
You know what?
You know what I'm saying? They want to keep people there forever sitting in their own shit, because that's what makes them there. Next week and next month and next year and then a year after that. And, that's what they want. And it fills up their pockets, but it doesn't do anything for the client at all.
So is that's what you saw, is that it was driving an industry of codependency.
100%. And the people don't know what they're doing. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I don't want to say the school I went to, no, it's not online. I mean, you can look on my LinkedIn, but like, I don't really want to do that. But I mean, it's like, if that was a top 10 school, then like, what the fuck is going on, worldwide. I mean, that's part of the problem, but the stories that you hear are just terrible. And I think the code of ethics that you need to stand by, I don't think all of them serve people properly. And like I said, I literally had to go through my own program and it wasn't because I thought it was a good idea. I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
I mean, I was at such a shit moment in my life that I'm like, Diana, I don't know what else to tell you. You do this to other people. It seems like, they do well. Go through your own shit. I don't know.
This is what I see. And I see this in the coaching industry, which is sidebar. I decided to go into neurolinguistic programming because I felt like I could actually help someone
100%.
Versus be someone who's a great listener, but not willing to confront my own shit and just try to fix other people versus fixing myself first. There's a big piece of fear in that. Fear of being the coaching model versus a therapy model. In coaching, I want to help people figure out and journey into the darkness to be able to support the healing that needs to happen. But that also is a tremendous risk on my side, because what if it doesn't work? Right? Then what? Well, that's the risk I'm willing to take. And a lot of people are not.
Nope. And so it's so disingenuous. Where a lot of imposter syndrome comes into play. It's not that they're not smart. They're just not willing to actually confront the shit that they need to get to the place they need to get to. And it's so funny too. I was just actually talking to someone about this also today. It's like a theme. All the themes are coming back. That so many people in the dating relationship space are such disasters in their dating and relationship situation. A lot of them are single. They're fucking disasters. Some of them, it's gotten better because I've seen them and they've worked with me, et cetera, but disasters, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about people that have like millions of followers, it's really quite wild. But if you're not in congruency and in alignment, how do you know? Like if I was not married right now, how would I be able to help married people? Yeah. And frankly, even just having kids, I'm a newer mom, but now I have 2 children. It's like, even that is like a totally different iteration. Like talking about children versus having them, it's totally different.
Yeah. This is what,
right? I mean, just don't, it's like you can conceptually understand something, but until you go through it. And frankly, having as much trauma, unfortunately, as I've had, the sort of good thing, I guess we could say, about it is that I've been through a lot of shit my clients have been through. Mm-hmm. And I'll say, this is how I handled it. What do we think about that? Let's talk through it. Whereas, with therapists, it just feels very like, like just, like I'm just seeing you right now. Don't talk to me ever again. Like if I see you in the grocery store, pretend you don't know me. Right. Like it's just this very like strange, like icky feeling that I just don't like. I love my clients. We're like family. I don't work with anyone I don't like. Yeah. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, I have to turn away. There are a lot of people with egos and they're just not nice and they're not good people and they want shortcuts and they want hacks and they want this, that, and the other. I won't do it. And I never have. Even when I was starving for money, I wouldn't do it. I absolutely wouldn't. Like I can literally say on one hand or the amount of people that I have like bad eggs.
Can I ask? I want to ask you, going back to the trauma piece. So for me, when I chose my career in college, I didn't realize it at the time when I chose my major, was that I wanted to learn more about people. So I chose communication, but interpersonal communication, not media and journalism. Looking back on that, it was because I had things about me that I needed help with. And therapy, my family, we're a blue collar family. We don't go to therapy. There's no problems. Let's just shove it under the rug and not talk about it. And on top of that, let's just drink a lot and just pretend like everything's perfect, right? So going through college, I chose my degree and I learned a lot about how people communicate. And then I brought that into my next career. For you, what was it that caused you to choose? Because you're undergraduates in psychology too. Was that part of it that you were trying to fix yourself?
Yeah, I think that was part of it because I'd gone into therapy since I was 14 and I had a horrible first situation. And so I think it's a multitude of things. I saved a girl's life from suicide when I was 10. I didn't realize at the time that that was a lot. But once I was a teenager, I was like, I don't think that was totally normal. I was nicknamed the therapist by everyone in high school. People would tell me things and they'd say like, I don't really know why I just told you that. My parents' relationship was a pure constant in my life, though I had, chaos kind of otherwise. And I thought that was normal. Whatever you grow up with is, you think it's normal, whether it is or it isn't in actuality. So when I started having sleepovers and dating people and, seeing friends and just seeing interactions in the real world, I'm like, oh my God, this is not the normal thing. And then I thought to myself, if I had the trauma that I had and my parents hated each other, disliked each other, whatever the case may be, imagine where I'd be then. I mean, it's just like another layer, of trauma where it's like, where do I go to? I'd be just so incredibly jaded. So I think for me, that was one thing that I could sort of hang my hat on, and was like a really beautiful, like safe, place when everything sort of didn't feel that way otherwise. So I think it was that. I think psychology just felt broad to me. I think I always felt that I was too sensitive to actually be a therapist. And I was in fashion for a little while, still love it very much. And it was so funny because I kept saying to myself, it'll never hit me what I want to do. Right. And I actually saw like a chick flick with a girlfriend of mine and I was walking back to my apartment in the city and it literally hit me. I was like, I need to be a couples and sex therapist. And the next day I was in the dean's office and I'm like, I need to go here. She's like, what? You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I need to go here now. So I applied and got in, and the couples and sex therapy, you'd have to do so much more. I mean, I already did 6.5 years of schooling. I was sort of done and ready to work. But that was, a lot of my journey. And my coaching just was brought to a whole new level when I started doing work on myself, because I had like some action steps, but not a ton. Now, I created a bunch for like every iteration of my life. I give those to all of my clients and they change other people's lives too. So I really brought it out.
So the distinction is taking action versus not taking action. Are we going to sit in what'd you call it? Your dirty diaper?
It's sitting in dirty bathwater.
Are you going to sit in your dirty diaper, your dirty bathwater, or are you actually committed to fixing this? And for me, I've had to learn as a coach, the clients who are really ready to do the work and the clients who are not. And so for money, for sex, for relationships, whatever that is, I saw a quote. It said, you have to get sick enough of your sick at some point to actually fix it. And it sounds like that was a defining moment for you where you jumped into coaching. For you at that time even, and now, what's the biggest distinction between coaching and therapy? Is it the action?
I think it's the action, but I think it's a broader conversation than that, because it is the therapeutic hour being 45 minutes. You cannot reach out to them otherwise. You cannot work with people that which I think is one of the most beautiful gifts that I could give someone that I care about, It's the power struggle. It's the kind of transactional type of thing that I just don't like at all. It's I could go on, but I think that a lot of, I won't say most, I'll say a lot of the code of ethics that are out there, I'm assuming it hasn't been updated, because I haven't been following them for a while since I graduated, but I even felt then, I'm like, what is this all for?
So it's generally the business of the business, the way that people conduct business.
Yeah. Yes. And people generally will become good at one thing, right? Like one method, right? Like CBT is very popular, cognitive behavioral therapy. Like, okay, but that doesn't work for every single person. It's not a one size fits all. It's very much not that, actually, for a million different reasons, right? So if I'm working for someone who's 20 versus someone who's 60, and I do have clients on both age, you're not doing the same thing. It's not the
No.
same work. It's not the same problems. It's not the same dynamic. It's not the same outlook, the approach. I mean, everything is different. So it felt very like, I'm going to just grab this one thing. I'm going to get really good at it. And I'm going to put that out there. That only works with like a trade,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm an electrician and this is
Not
what I
with
do.
people.
And no, because we're too layered. We're like onions. We're very, it's like a beautiful thing and a curse that we are very layered,
Yep.
very confusing, right?
Complex.
Yeah, very complex. And there just can't be one thing. It doesn't work. There can be some foundational things, that are like all my clients, male, female, young, old, doesn't matter. You're going to do these particular things, but then there's got to be things that are, Lisa and Diana-ified, once you actually know who the person is and really get to know them, it's like, it'll be really interesting. And I'll just be like, just riff with me for a second. Like, let me think through this. What do we think? How does this feel? I think I really like this, right? Like, and we'll just kind of have those like aha moments, but that's where you need to be able to think on your feet, really be intuitive, like really truly be able to have a gift that you see things that other people can't see. And those are the gaps and holes. Like that's my job, is to fill those in, to be able to say like, we just got to do like X, Y, and Z. Once we are able to get those things, you're going to see the world. I mean, life, opportunity, up leveling yourself, that real 2.0 version of yourself, so much easier and so much better.
Agreed. I want to go back to the comment you made about people being really fucked up and having big followings.
Yep.
What I notice in the money industry is that people are spewing and projecting all over the place. They're projecting their own experiences. They're projecting their own thoughts onto other people as if it's the right way. And I can feel it right now. And there's only one way. And I can feel it when I watch that stuff, my emotional tolerance for it. I see myself being so angry because I'm trained to go, wait a minute, an opinion, there's no place for an opinion here because you're different.
100%.
You're different. So why don't we help you get to know you better?
Yeah.
And what's right for you.
And do it in the way that feels right for you, because you're trying to do something for someone. It feels manipulative. It doesn't feel right. It's like putting on a sweater that's 6 sizes too big.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could put it on, you'll wear the sweater, you'll be warmer in theory, but it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. It's not comfortable. And frankly, it's not sustainable. Once you walk away from that person, they're like, I don't think I like this. Same thing with business coaches, where they give you this whole idea because they only have one way of doing things, generally it's the same concept. And you're like, I don't think I want to market myself that way. And like, oh, but you have to, it'll make a lot of money. It's like, okay, but if it's not authentic to me, it doesn't feel good for me. It's not something that I believe in or really feel grounded in. It's not going to work for me. And because you're a one trick pony, they can't pivot. Like that's all, it's like they kind of blew their load. Like that's it. It's all they got for you. So there's so much personalization that needs to happen. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
I agree. I totally agree. So going into your method and your flow, what are the things that you've discovered do work? What are the process? I know, I think I saw something on your website about a formula, but like what I can already tell there's so many people listening to this right now going, oh my gosh, I have to work with her. That's so refreshing. Right? So what do you do, and how do people then move into their authenticity and be in a demand for coaching and support that's actually going to help them heal and move forward in their lives?
Yeah. So you just said it. The first thing to do is to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And because we lack self-awareness, research shows that 10 to 15% of us are self-aware. And I don't even know what that even means, right? Like what signifies someone who's self-aware? I don't even know, right? So we're so unaware of ourselves, yet we think, for easy numbers, let's call you 40, right? Oh, I've been in my body for 40 years. I know myself. You don't. And a lot of it is because we're like adults as little children, right? Little wounded children walking around making decisions. It's the same thing with the money concept. Yep. Right. And we have this idea, this narrative, and often it's given us by someone else, a parent, a coach, a teacher, someone of authority. It could even be a peer, where they're saying something to you and you look through that lens forever. There are so many people that have come to me to say that a teacher, which is like, kills me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're really this or you're really that, but college or school or, advancement, like it's just not for you. So then they think that they're stupid and they look through the lens of that forever and look for proof that that's true, even if it is against them and is unhealthy. They'll even take things and twist them. Let's say, I say, can you help me, write my book? And you're like, Diana, I would love to. I'm really busy. And I'm like, she just thinks I'm too stupid to do it. Right. Like, and you literally are just too busy to do it right now. But I will take whatever you say just to twist it to make my reality true.
Yep.
And then for the rest of my life, unless I deal with that wound, and I don't even realize it came because it came when I was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, whatever it was. We don't think it's like that big of a deal. It's like these little micro tears, that are created that cause so much scarring. And again, no one sees it. And the people that say they don't need therapy are the ones that need it the most, right? Because it's all just a defense mechanism. Like, I don't need any of that. It's all silly. And again, like you said, it's true. So much of it relates back to society and tradition and cultures. There's so many cultures that say like, ew, like rub dirt in it. You're fine. Get up. Like we don't talk about bad things. And frankly, I think poor people don't like to talk about bad things, but rich people don't either.
Nobody
right?
does.
Like they're like, oh, like we don't have problems. Everything's perfect in this house. So it's like, it doesn't really matter kind of where you came from. There's going to be problems, and it's a lot of sweeping under the rug. And frankly, if you look at the generation above us, they never went to therapy for anything. I mean, you have to be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and like literally committed, right? In an institution, like for real, there was no help. There was no proactivity. There was no, and like they had us. They fucked us up, not purposefully. They did the best they could, but whatever they did was what their parents, dropped down to them. And generational trauma lasts 7 generations.
Yeah.
But
it takes somebody to break that. It takes someone to break that. I say this all the time, and I don't know how young you are. I'm 44.
39.
39. Okay. So in my circles, in my conversations, at my retreats, I say, listen, I don't know why. And it's my truth that it's this generation of women specifically that are going to break these cycles. And it takes immense amount of courage, because what I've had to go through, what I've chosen to go through from a responsible lens is I've gone through a lot to break lots of cycles in my family, and it was not fun. It was very painful.
No.
I had to look at the pain, go through the pain, be willing to challenge my family on beliefs, challenge my dad on beliefs. And it was through other circles of women to come together and say, you're not alone. You're not alone.
It's huge because you think you are. Mm-hmm. You think that you're in a silo where you're the only one that deals with your problems. It feels very lonely. Yeah. So many people are faking their happiness. If they took the time that they took to fake it, to actually do something about it, they'd be in a very different place. But because social media, especially TV, all of it looks like the highlight reel of everyone's lives. When they have that zit, like they don't go on camera or they filter it off, you know what I mean? Or if they're feeling bloated that day, they cut themselves off and you don't see their stomach, right? Yeah. Like it's all bells and whistles, and it's done very strategically. So you and your life, you're looking at everyone else, it's not real, but you're looking at everyone else and you're like, well, I don't look like that, or my life isn't like that, or, I don't speak like that, or whatever it may be. And that's where the problems come into play. You think you're by yourself. And so many people will say to me, even very accomplished people, like, am I too fucked up to get help? I mean, no one's too fucked up. If you want the help, that's all that matters. And not everyone does, unfortunately, as we know. But once you say you want to do it, and you can do it terrified, right? I mean, I've done a lot of coaching. I've done a lot of work on myself, and I do a lot of things that scare the crap out of me. And sometimes I'm like, Diana, can you just not do something that scares me? You know what I mean? Because I'm always like freaked out to do stuff, but that's where you get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. That's when, you need to do something new to have new habits, new things going on, new rungs on the ladder that you go up. Like you need to be able to do things that are fucking scary and different, and push against that sort of familiar, unfamiliar, type of place, that we always like to be in this sort of like uncomfortably comfortable place. Yeah. Kind of like familiar, we don't like the unfamiliar, but again, nothing new grows in a place of just the old shit. It just doesn't. It doesn't. So people are afraid to face it, and they think kind of like, it's almost like a spool of thread where they're like, I can pull at it, but then it's like, you know what I mean? And it just like keeps going and going, and like, when does it end? It's like, well, it doesn't. Like this is a lifestyle type of thing. There's no such thing as healed. You don't wake up one day and you're like, oh, holy fuck, I'm 100% healed. It doesn't work. And, the way that I equate it is like fitness. If you lose 50 pounds, and you go to the gym and you eat right and you do all the things, you can't just say, well, I think I'm going to go back to Doritos and sitting on the damn couch then. You got to keep going. It's a forever thing. And I think a lot of people just want that sort of quick win, type of thing. And then once they have it or see it, it's like, oh, fuck it. And the rest goes out the window.
Yeah.
That's a problem. It just doesn't work that way. If you want to have things that other people don't have, you have to be willing to do things that other people are not. There's no lazy way through this. I'm not going to do the work for you. I can't.
No.
But it's not going to mean anything. And again, when I want my clients to become self-sufficient, it means you need to do the work.
That's
and
right.
yes, it's scary. And yes, it's not always fun, but it's really liberating when I get to see my clients. Like one of the most favorite things of what I do is knowing ahead of time that people are going to get to places that they don't even know that they can. And then when they get there, they're like, oh my God, they're like mystified. You know what I'm saying? Because they never allowed themselves to. And I was the same way. I used to be a super awkward, quiet, shy girl. Now I do things and it doesn't feel comfortable or fun for me, but I go outside of my comfort zone and I do things that, like the 13-year-old Diana would be like, oh, absolutely fucking not. Like,
I'm not doing that.
No way. Nope. She's not doing that. Nope. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And it scares me. It's not always comfortable for me. And I do a shit ton of self-development work. And that's kind of where I am. Right. But, not all these things become comfortable, but those are the things I know when I'm not comfortable that I need to work on. There's something there that needs to be dealt with. I'm not going to be that person anymore that runs away from that.
That's right.
I run into that.
That's right. You run into it. And I'm getting a sense that the formula is first and foremost, acknowledge that you need and want help.
100%.
For the listener.
It's like with any addiction, right? That's what they say. They say the first thing is knowing that there is a problem. And I don't even think that you need to decipher like, do I or don't I? Everyone does. I literally believe, and it doesn't have to be me, but I believe that every single person needs some coach or therapist in their life. Everyone. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how great you think your relationship is. I don't care how great of a parent you think you are. Doesn't matter. Every single person needs it because our shit is bled onto other people, whether we like it or not. It just is. It's unavoidable.
And here's how that happens is that we have significant emotional events that happen in our lives. And then we judge ourselves. I know for me, I was taught that no matter what's going on in my life, be grateful. So yes, maybe this was a big deal for you, but look at your life and be grateful for the life that you have. So it's like washing by gratitude, washing away the problems by gratitude for me. And so you have these significant emotional events, which you have, I have, and then you don't talk about them. And then you don't process them. And then they get stuck in your neurology. They get stuck in your body. You don't release them. And then they manifest into other pain, other problems, other trauma. And so to your point, whether it's a coach or a therapist who actually wants you to make progress, who actually cares to get you into action, to stare your demons in the face the pain, walk 100%. Through it.
100%.
That's the journey.
Yes. And again, it's not sexy. It's not, but it's healing. It's revealing a new version of you and then transforming where that really does stick and stay with you and figuring out the accountability pieces, the action steps, different things that need to happen in your life. I call it emotional kryptonite, where we all have things that we need to battle against. Some of it, again, will be generational, and some of it's learned, like you said, through loss and heartbreak and trauma and things that we deal with. It's a combination. And until you deal with those things and identify even what they are, where it's those things that are, pain in the ass, it's the people pleasing, it's the perfectionism, it's the attachment issues, it's anxiety. All of the things that we deal with, they're going to continue to haunt you. Right. And the world just kind of keeps spinning them around, until you start learning these lessons. You might as well do it now. And we all have them. You have to figure out what those are. And that's what happens within that healing process. Is like, let's figure out who you are. We don't need to go to depths of your soul and, but we do need to figure out like, what are you doing that's handicapping you, that's stopping you from having everything, elevating every single part of your life, every single pillar of your life, every single relationship that you have. Right. And they all matter and they're all there for a reason. Your life is exactly what it is because of you, good or bad.
Agreed. Let's talk about money, shifting to money. You've worked with celebrities. You work with business owners. You work in corporate America.
Yeah.
And the perception is, and I get these comments on on Instagram a lot about, well, this person is rich. What do they know about happy? What do they know about struggle? But just because someone has money and just because someone has celebrity doesn't mean they have it all figured out.
Oftentimes it's the exact opposite, actually. We
What does that
think
mean?
that they must have everything, all the happiness, all the things. They have resources, but that doesn't mean that they're happy. A lot of them are the loneliest people I know. I remember when I first started out and I met some of these people, I would put them on a pedestal, same way like everyone else does, even people in my own space. And they're driving your Bentleys and their huge mansions. They're, I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them are total messes. I mean, they just are. It's a very lonely space. You don't know who to trust. You can't relate to anyone. I mean, it's totally weird. And especially a lot of them, if they came from very little and then suddenly, came into money, it's even weirder and even harder to navigate. Because again, you don't know who to trust. You can't relate to anyone. You can't have normal conversations with people. You don't know what their angle is. It's just a very strange way of living. And then you feel like you need to hang out with other rich people, and that's not always what you want to do. I mean, it just gets like weird. And then also your friends become people that you hire to do things for you, right? Like your personal trainer and your nail tech, and right, like they just kind of become like your inner circle, like those are your people.
Yep.
And that's not necessarily bad, but like you're paying them. So it's like kind of a little weird at times.
Yep.
You want to just like, be an ordinary person and not always have to be that person. And then, just, it's like very calculating, and you have to sort of keep up this persona, that maybe you're not necessarily. It's like very strange. So, and like people say, more money, more problems.
So what do you do about that? What do you do about that? Because women, I think that, being in more successful circles is that women are just as afraid, if not more afraid of success than they are of failure. What I say is we've done a pretty good job at failing. Like that's familiar to us, failing in relationships, failing in corporate America, failing. So we're like, all right, well, I know how to do that. But when it comes to success, what's a healed version of success?
Well, I think it depends. It's like, you need to tell me, what that looks like for you. But to me, it's like, yes, financial success is great, and having, a really sexy title is cool, and a, pretty car and all, and the nice clothes and the nice handbag, that's great, especially for women. Like, that's wonderful. But what about all the other stuff? We play so many roles. There's so much pressure and responsibility, and women want to be perfect, and we want to be all the things, and we want to do multiple things at once. And just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to slow down. And a lot of it's worthiness. So often we feel like we're still in that like fight or flight mode with men, where we feel like we need to compete with them, and we need to be like hyper masculine. And like, that's okay to some degree, but it becomes really difficult in your personal life because it's hard to like oscillate between femininity and masculinity. And I think just like the generation, like the gender gap is really difficult to deal with, right? And that's one thing. So I think it's the imposter syndrome. I think it's worthiness. I think it's the gender gap. I was talking to someone recently who's had 6 exits over $100 million. And she and I were speaking, very smart, very nice woman. She said to me that she remembers she got into Forbes. There was like a really beautiful article written about her. She was so proud, reading this. It was so amazing. It was like the best feeling ever, especially because so many, men and everything else, that she's had. It was a very like male dominated industry. Mm-hmm. She was very happy. And then she got to the last line, and it said, she got lucky. Yeah, I have the chills.
Ouch.
Can you imagine? And you and I both know that if this was about a man, that would never be said, ever. Mm-hmm. Right. And I don't want to make this a penis vagina thing, but let's be honest, it is. You know what I mean? Saying like, unfortunately for women, it's not something that men understand. And it's getting better, thank God. But I think it's an issue with men, but I also think it's an issue with women. Mm-hmm. If women didn't treat women so badly, men wouldn't feel that they can. Right. And if we didn't allow men to treat us the way that they do, that also wouldn't be an option. So if we were, I'm sure you've seen it too, on like my rise to success, as wonderful as it's been, I've seen so many people from high school and college and all the things, when people will say things, to me and say like, I was in this group of, and, and they were talking about you, and they were, talking about your success, and they were saying, that she got lucky, or she did this or she did that or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, it's just sad, I mean, it's really sad. And I think women, like, we are so powerful, like we are so amazing, like we are so, like, to me, like, we're just the best. Like, there is no one better. Like, men are dumb. They're adorable. We're dumb, right? Like, we're just so smart. We're so great. Like, we really are. And and the older I get, like, the more I see that.
Yeah.
It makes me so sad that we just are so mean to ourselves that we're mean to each other. You know what I mean? Like, generally when you're little, men are, not bullying you, or boys, I guess at that point, are not bullying you. It's other girls. Mm-hmm. Like, we dress for other girls. We dress to impress other girls. We don't dress for men. I mean, it's like, it's just, it's sad. And
That's the healing. That's
yes,
where the
but
healing
that's
needs
right.
to
Like you
happen,
find it
right?
so threatening, and you say to someone like, it's sad. Like I feel bad for people like that. Like I used to be really mad. Now I just feel sad for them. And it's like, wow, you just really don't get it. But it happens so often. And you see people again just saying like, oh, you're lucky or oh, this, like they're just total haters. And it's like, that's a person that will never, like they're just so trapped in their own shit. And you look at the life that they live and you're like, yeah, it makes sense. And I hate to say that, but it's true. And there are always going to be people that are, quote unquote above you, whatever that means. And there's always going to be people below you, right? But that's like the way that the world works. And you can be sad for your own situation if you're not exactly where you want to be somewhere, but still be happy for someone else. When I was struggling to
Yeah.
get pregnant, so many of my friends were like, I have to tell you at this point because I'm showing, but I'm pregnant. I'm so, so sorry. Like that's what they would tell me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I'm like, no, like I can still be like sad for myself that I'm failing every month, but be so fucking happy for you.
Right.
Same thing. My father passed away and my girlfriend got engaged, I don't know, probably 2 weeks later. And she's like, I just have to tell you because I have to tell you, but don't be happy for me. Don't say anything. Don't even, and I'm like, no, like you have to be able to separate those two things. Like I can be devastated about my father and be thrilled for you. Like I'm allowed to feel two different things. Right. And even like as I was coming up, in my business and even now, it's like, it's never done. Just like self-development, it's never done. It's never done, with what I want to do and the goals and who I want to help and all the things. But, I see people where I'm like, I love the fact that there are people that do better than I do because I see that it's possible, right? Like, and especially for women, I love that. Like, I'm the first one in the front row clapping for someone. Like, that's the fucking best. You know what I mean? Like, we need women to
We
be the
do.
ones that are like leading this. You know what I mean? Like, whole discussion. We have to get out of our own way. And I think because we, are so in our heads and try to be so perfect and try to be something we're not, and media tells us to be the exact opposite to what we are, the beauty industry, all of that, it's so hard to counterbalance that. I think it's something like
Yeah.
90% of women over, I think 30 something years old don't like their bodies, like at all.
When I'm gathering from all of this, which I just hosted a women's retreat and we were having these exact conversations, is that this is the journey of a healed woman.
Yes.
That as someone who's done the healing herself, you have the capacity to hold space for someone else on their journey. And that's what it's going to take now more than ever for women to step into their own healing journey to become whole so that it's not I'm against her, I'm for her, she got lucky. It's like, no, I'm awesome.
Right.
I'm happy.
For you.
Right? I'm good with where I'm at. Yeah, shitty things happen. What? Okay. And let's walk this journey together and we can celebrate each other. I love that so much. I love that so much.
And we need to do more of that. And it allows you to set yourself free because you're not being someone, that you're not. You're not trying to do something that just doesn't feel aligned. Like that's what's inauthentic. And then when you're acting that way and wear that mask, none of your relationships are real. Like you don't even know who's, what you are. You don't know, sort of what mouth you're talking out of. Like it's just so much easier to just be you and enjoy your quirks. And that's what makes you unique and interesting. Like men love that. We don't realize that.
Right.
And that's what makes you memorable. That's what makes you stand out. We have to be so much kinder to ourselves. We really dislike ourselves. And when, you come from a place like that with the worthiness and how we look and, being threatened by other people, like how are we gonna do what we deserve to do? Like women are so powerful. Like I said, we're the most beautiful creatures. Like we're just the best, and if we just got out of our own way and stopped allowing people to be in our ears telling us, like you're pretty, but like not pretty enough. Like we just don't feel enough in every single way, that when we start to do that and feel that empowerment, it's phenomenal. But then you also think to yourself, when you get that empowered, what needs to be dropped in my life?
Yeah.
And that's what's scary for people, like there's marriages that need to end because of that. There's friendships that need to end because of that. There's family members that you need to push out, like, doing the boundary stuff. Like that's what we're saying. Like it doesn't feel fun all the time, but that's when everything changes. I had to do all of that work. I'm not friends with all those people anymore, and like exes are in the past right now, but doing that work was the number one thing that I can say that I've done where it was like sort of like a rags to riches story. And I grew up upper middle class. It's not even like from a financial perspective. It's from I was like a shy, quiet, awkward, sad, sort of mad girl. But then I look at my high school yearbook, I actually just recently found it. And so many people were saying the little like notes that, people read. it was like, oh, she's so smiley, like you're so happy, like da da da. It's like, wow, I got that good at faking it. I mean, I
Yeah.
was the kid that like cried myself to sleep. I had so much trauma. I
Yeah.
couldn't find a good therapist to help me. It wasn't until I became my own therapist, to where I really started to actually not even love myself. Fuck that. I need to learn to like myself.
Exactly.
And I thought I needed to learn to love myself, but when you really dislike yourself, you actually need to learn to like yourself.
I love
And that took time.
I think that's so important. I think that's so important. So, and thank you for that, because I think you're spot on. I believe, and I know you're spot on, that you're going to wrap up this whole conversation in order to heal. And like you said, I saw an Instagram post of yours. Therapy is not just for like fucked up people. Therapy, coaching, support is for everyone, because we all need a team. And as a woman in your own life today, calling any woman listening to this forward, is it's going to require you to be someone that you've never been, to live the kind of life that you want to live. And I'm not just talking about numbers, because broke isn't a number. Wealth, feeling rich is not a number. Some people, everybody's perspective is different on that. It's going to require you to define for yourself what happiness truly looks like and feels like. And you're going to have to face the people around you, everything that you've created around you, to be able to get to a place where you can love yourself enough in your life that you said this journey was worth it. This journey was
100%.
worth it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for who you are. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your real, straightforward honesty. We need more of that. Can we be friends? Are we friends now?
Yes.
You want to hang out?
Yeah, I think you're stuck with me. You need to give a choice in the matter.
Awesome. What's one thing that's on your heart to tell a woman who's listening to this right here, right now?
There's so many things I wish I had, an hour with each person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's finding the bravery and the strength within yourself to say, I want to at least try it, right? Try to get help, see what happens. I think we don't realize what we need to work on, and the people in our lives don't know or don't want to be that honest with us. Everything that you don't have right now are the things that you haven't done yet. And there's always advancements. Some people say like, my relationship is good. I don't want a good relationship. I want a great relationship. What needs to happen for that, to get to that place? So it's really just about challenging yourself and getting yourself to a place where you feel like, okay, I want to do it, and I want to do it now. You're never going to wake up and be like, you know what? I think today's the day. You just have to make the decision right now. And it doesn't even need to be me. I just want people to see and become the best version of themselves. And to do that means you need a formula and a blueprint to be able to do that, to become that self-sufficient person. My goal is to be fired. You need that blueprint. You need to understand what your emotional kryptonite is, and you're too close to it to see it. Every therapist needs a therapist, right? So, there's really, of course, there's work you can do on your own, of course, there always is. And that's helpful, but it's only going to get you to a certain point. So you need to be able to reach out for help and see what it is. It's generally not as bad as you think. I think a lot of people think that it's so bad, like it's so terrible. There's not. There's usually just like a couple of tweaks that need to happen to unkink the hose. And then once you do, it's like everything just flows through, all of it though. And every version, like we said, of success, where you have good friends and you have good relationships and have good boundaries, and, you're doing what you want to be doing for a living. You feel that passion, have that relationship, like you really have it all in the version that feels good and right for you. You really have that harmony. And that's what needs to happen, is to be able to get that outside perspective.
I love that. We all have blind spots.
Yeah. And it's not about intelligence or, anything like that. We just do. We have them, and they're so deep seated, and a lot of them are so subconscious that we don't realize they exist. And that's why someone else needs to like lovingly call you out on them. And once you know better, you can do better. But until then, it's going to be the same old. Then definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That's right. You have to want to do it for yourself, and no one is going to do it for you. And it's not your fault what's gone on, but it is your responsibility to do something about it.
Totally. It totally is. So where can people find you, Diana?
So my IG is Diana Mandell, very simple. And I have some really exciting things that are coming out. So if you follow me on there, you'll see the journey, and you'll see some very cool things that are coming.
Yeah, I love what you're up to already. And I know that you have a lot of big things coming up. Don't be surprised to see us on a stage together, talking to other people about taking radical responsibility. And the way that we do that is that we get to go first. We get to go first.
100%. It is. And
Yeah.
it's just because, we're able to do what we do because we have mastered something that a lot of other people haven't, just like they have, that we need to learn from.
Yeah.
So it's just, a different area of your life. And again, when you unkink the hose, you don't even know what you're capable of. That's what I said. It's one of my favorite things about what I do, that I see it and I know it's like that little secret,
Yeah.
But once you do that, you really open that up. The possibilities are endless. Sometimes I'm even surprised. I'm like, holy shit. It's just phenomenal, like where people go, like they really soar. So that's what really needs to happen to get to that.
Well, I'm in for it. I'm in for it. I'm in for all of it. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being a light and a beacon of hope and authenticity and courage for other people on this planet. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And for all of you who are listening and watching today, thank you for spending the time with me and Diana. We're very grateful that you're here. We'll catch you next time on Real Money.
Hey, thanks so much for being here today. I hope this conversation was super inspiring for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking to take the first step in my world, I know that you need to know your money personality. Join me on the adventure of knowing what your money personality is and how you can live your healthiest life financially. Do that today.